So it's looking like we have even more confirmation of a rumor that Sucker Punch kind of gutted out the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima for a Ghost of Yōtei, and changing a lot of things along the way, which has gotten a lot of reaction. So we're going to react to it on That Game Plays. Hi friends, it's me, CC, here once again with the amazing Nolan Thunder and Marvin the Movie Monster. Guys, thanks for joining us today.
Always a pleasure.
Excited to talk about the Yotei sausage.
Yeah, I'm never excited to talk about this just because I still hate the fact that it's happening, but here we are. We can't avoid it, and we have to cover it. So let's dive in.
And dive in we shall. Rumors Sucker Punch gutted and repurposed Ghost of Tsushima sequel for Ghost of Yōtei. That's right. Again, a story coming out of That Park Place from October 25. John F. Trent writing away. So that rumor alleges that Sucker Punch Productions, the developers of Ghost of Tsushima and the upcoming Ghost of Yōtei, gutted and repurposed a planned Ghost of Tsushima sequel, created Ghost of Yōtei out of its bones. That wouldn't surprise me. This latest rumor is coming to us once again from YouTuber Endymion at Endymion TV. Who first shared that a source informed him that Sony Japan is pissed off about being kept in the dark about the sudden changes to the game's narrative. He added, "It does seem there's a huge disconnect between what Sucker Punch knew about Ghost sequel versus what Sony's PR teams knew." That never sounds good. And of course, I have watched this video. Guys, have you seen this video? Have you watched what Endymion's been dropping lately?
I'm a little bit behind on the stuff that Endymion's been doing over the last week or so, but I am a frequent watcher of his channel. He does great stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's so funny that, like, you know, all of a sudden, like, the Sony executives, what were they doing the same thing we all were when that trailer aired? We were like, what the heck?
Yeah, well, you remember we were watching live. Nolan, I don't remember. Were you there watching it live with us, or did you watch it on the replay?
No, I missed the presentation, unfortunately. Yeah. But I have heard the horror stories about it.
Well, and it was kind of surprising for each and every one of us. But he shared this, and it was, as I was told, like before I reported on Yōtei last, the game was indeed supposed to be a Ghost of Tsushima 2 with Jin Sakai as the main character, which would have, of course, made sense. This has been confirmed to me by at least by sources, I guess is what he's trying to say. And I was told the skeleton of Tsushima 2 is what is largely being used to create Yōtei into what it is now. I would assume that likely Jin would come to Mount Yōtei, and then this is where he would be facing the next Mongol threat. But within the past 2 years, something has definitely changed at Sucker Punch.
Well, I wonder what. I wonder what changed.
It's a good question, Nolan. Have you followed any of this, or would you understand what had changed at Sucker Punch that may have made this happen?
You know, over the years, as someone who's not really a big follower on this, I can say, though, I've seen a lot throughout history. You know, developers will sneak, little things in, trying to get under, the censors or the studio heads, because they have a really cool concept they want to do, and they'll find a way to kind of spin it into the game before the higher ups see it on, like, the twilight hour or something like that. But literally changing the whole concept of a game and leaving a studio in the dark, I gotta side with the execs a bit on that, because that kind of makes you feeling slapped in the face. I mean, I don't think it's really fair to them.
Well, I think the turnaround time for a game like this is rather impressive, and to take framework from the other game seems normal. And the rumor around this, I believe, is that it'll be a smaller game than the original one, and presenting it in this way is kind of them trying to dodge the bullet of the sequel that they were supposed to be making. But Endymion shared information provided to him by a source regarding a number of individuals who joined Sucker Punch around the last 2 years. This is the stuff we're talking about. You have Jen Lee Lucien, who began work at Sucker Punch in March of 2022 as a producer. He also pointed out that Aridana Martinez, a senior writer and narrative designer for Sucker Punch, joined the company in May of 2023. And he pointed out that Courtney Woods, who joined Sucker Punch as a senior staff writer in September of 2022. And finally pointing out that Kelly Snyder became a senior producer at Sucker Punch in September of 2023. Given that these individuals joined the company, Endymion stated, As you'll notice as I show these other examples, these writers and such, they all came onto this project rather late in production on Yōtei, almost as if the game was something else entirely before it became Yōtei.
Hmm.
On top of that information, Endymion also shared that Sony is currently deciding what to price Yōtei at and how to promote the game going forward. As I was told, currently Yōtei is being considered at Sony to be pushed as a spin-off title in the Ghost series instead of a mainline game. This was not the original plan, as what I've been told, however. The game was meant to be the next de facto installment and the direction Sucker Punch was going to take in the series.
Well, you know what, that to me means that if this is true, which I really hope it is, it means that we might still get a Jin Sakai sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. And if this is just your version of Miles Morales, then I'm fine with it. But yeah, like if this is where we're going to go moving forward, no.
Well, let me ask you this, Nolan. If this is their version of Miles Morales, and again, it's Sony, so that's fitting, right? But if it is their version of Miles Morales, rather than Spider-Man, is that harmless or is it detrimental to the future of our desire to see Jin Sakai?
I think this could actually be a problem. Not the concept of doing a spinoff. I don't have a problem with that at all. As a Mario San over here, I am a-okay with making millions of spinoffs of a beloved series. What I don't think is a good sign is, imagine being a studio and you dump all this money into what you think is going to be a sequel, and then instead they present you with something that's probably going to be a spinoff that's probably not going to make the same kind of sales charts just for the nature of being a spinoff. I mean, sometimes a spinoff can do better than the original, but more often than not, you just want that number 2 on the box so you can hopefully, break some records. I think if this game underperforms, it could be extremely detrimental to the franchise. It's like going to KFC and they serve you Popeyes. Like, you're not going to be real happy.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of, a big problem for them. And Endymion kind of addressed that in this video, saying that he believes, some of the information he received believes that the Ghost of Yōtei would likely get delayed to 2026, probably because of the pushback that, the executives that are outside of, the Sucker Punch Studios kind of reacted to the way this was presented. And he said back then that he was told not to expect Yōtei in 2025 at all. Apparently, the game's nowhere near being done, but it's a very slim chance that the game actually releases in 2025. It could very easily fall into 2026, but if you're getting your hopes up for it coming out next year, probably don't do that. Well, I don't know that I have my hopes up at all. Marvin, are you excited for this spin-off game that was repurposed?
My hopes were that it was a fever dream of my worst nightmare, and it wasn't actually real, and I was going to wake up and be like, oh, good, they are making a Ghost of Tsushima sequel. But I feel vindicated because when this dropped and I had that visceral reaction, I was shouted down about it by everybody, by not people like in our circle, but like some people were like, oh, just give it a chance. I'm like, no, like they're doing the thing that we always criticize them for doing. I don't know. This is, and you know what? At the end of the day, when something was supposed to be something else and it's gutted and repurposed and hastily put together to meet some new narrative, that never works out right. It's never good, whether it's a movie, whether it's a game, or whether it's a TV show, or even a comic book. So good luck, Sucker Punch. I think you're about to get sucker punched by the entire gaming industry.
And I think that's probably true because of the heaps of praise that that Ghost of Tsushima received and how it was honored by the folks it was being made for. And of course, everybody enjoyed the game that played it, as far as I know. But Nolan, I got to ask you, if this game, which is again claimed here, was originally supposed to be Ghost of Tsushima 2, starring Jin Sakai, and then it was halted and it completely changed in vision. We end up with this Atsu character we did not originally see as the main character in the game. So, with that being said, from the sources that Endymion has, which seem to be incredibly reliable, what do you think are the the prospects of something like Ghost of Yōtei from mainline gamers like yourself?
Well, I think I really hope this game's overall legacy, because this game's definitely going to come out. It might get delayed, but it's coming. And I gotta say, from what I've seen, like the screenshots, stuff like that, I think the game actually looks pretty beautiful. I like the art style and all that. But I can't just help but think back to history. Like, I remember years ago when everybody wanted a new Metroid Prime game. Instead, Nintendo put out a spinoff called Metroid Prime Federation Force on the 3DS. And when the initial announcement happened, there was a storm of how awful this is. They don't care about the franchise anymore. They betrayed all their amazing fans, about any complaint you could think of. And a lot of it was because they just wanted something more traditional. And it was just bad timing. Now, years after the fact, the waters have settled a bit, and people have looked back and be like, hey, this actually wasn't a bad game. And you have to look at it as like, now the poor game, like the studio behind it, like they never even got a chance to maybe expand on the world or do like a sequel or anything. Or the people who did enjoy it, they've kind of lost out because of just bad timing. And I'm afraid history will repeat itself again with this game. It's probably going to come out, probably looks like it's led by a competent team. It looks like it's going to be solid, but it's not what people want. And when you release something at a bad time, you can be the best artist around, but if you're not at a time when the crowd won't appreciate your art, well, it's not going to do very much for them. And I think this game is going to be a tragedy. In sometimes a sequel probably should come out before a spinoff, or just maybe even more transparency could have gone a long way.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be largely the bigger problem, because one of the thinking behind this game, according to Endymion, was to forward the clock 300 years, so it's more reasonable to have a woman in a game, because they wanted to force this so badly. And of course, if they really have only been in active development of this project for a year, and they really repurposed a lot of what we were going to get with Jin Sakai for this Atsu hero lady person, I think they needed to get another quality Jin Sakai game under their belt before they were to move forward. But look, we've said enough. It's now audience participation time. What do you think? Do you think that we are at a point where the studios can repurpose original properties more effectively and reasonably? Or do you think that by forcing these types of changes into established games and even established storylines, and then perhaps even a nearly finished product, are really the biggest problems that AAA gaming is, finding themselves in today? They're basically their own worst nightmare. Or if you have any other thoughts on the repurposing, or whether or not that's true for this project, let us know those thoughts down in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to the amazing Nolan Thunder. Of course, Marvin the Movie Monster, and both of his channels, and of course to my channel, Culture Casino, available on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Minds, and Getter. In fact, I would tell you all, check out the team, because they make great things for you. As always, get your game on.